In this video, I'm going to show you how to get payouts on 1 in 5 prop firm challenges and why you're probably still going to fail. And when I say get payouts, I don't just mean pass a challenge. I mean get all the way to a withdrawal and get the money in your bank. So the 1 in 5 comes from passing 40% of the challenges and then withdrawing on half of those. So that's 20%, 1 in 5. First of all, we need to get this out of the way. This isn't financial advice. Most people lose money trading this for educational purposes only. So this is for a specific account. It's a FundedNext Rapid 25k, and it's based on the rules that they have on it right now. I don't know how the rules are going to change over time, so it's up to you to check everything for yourself. I say it's an assumption that it's a 40% pass rate, but it's not an assumption. It's the way that the maths works, and I've actually tried it for myself on these accounts, and it is bearing out as about 40%. Variance is the problem that you have to look out for, and how you emotionally deal with variance. So variance is flipping a coin is 50-50, but if you flip a coin 10 times in a row, you're not going to get heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails. You're going to get winning streaks and you're going to get losing streaks. And when we get into things like 1 in 5 as opposed to 1 in 2, those losing streaks can get pretty big. So as I said, 40% pass rate on the challenges, 50% on the withdrawals, which is 20% approximately. But we're going to go into a bit more detail on that. So it's all about risk reward. So what we're doing is we're setting up the risk reward in our favor so that the base probability is in our favor. So if you have a 1-to-1 risk reward, that's about a 50% win rate, like by default. If you literally flip a coin and pick random trades, which I have actually proven in one of my videos, I'll put a link to it in here. You will get about a risk reward based win rate over time. So this is something that plays out over time. I'm not talking about like 5 trades in a row or 10 trades in a row. I'm talking about over like hundreds of trades potentially, even though sometimes it does play out like exactly how you would expect it to, but you can't expect that to happen all the time. So on this, the risk to reward is going to be, on this account, the stop loss is $1,000, the target is 1,500. So what we do is we just try and do it in one trade. So either you win or you lose. The risk reward 1,000 to 1,500 is 1 to 1.5, which based on base odds is going to be a 40% win rate. So you win 40% of those challenges, and as I said, it's over time, so it's not like expecting to win 4 out of 10. It's more like 40 out of 100 approximately, or the more you do, the more it's going to even back out to around what the base rate is. So 40% doesn't mean easy. You could lose 5 in a row. You need a decent sample size, as I've already said. Execution still matters, so slippage and stuff, and then you've got tilt, in the sense that the way that you behave is going to make a significant difference. This is based on risk and reward. So if you exit trades early, that's going to affect your risk reward. If you start moving your stop loss, that's going to affect your risk reward. If you start changing your size and all those different things, it's going to affect your risk to reward, and it's going to affect your expected value and profit over time. The funded account has a consistency rule on it, so you can't just do the full target versus the full stop loss. So what we're going to do, because 40% basically means you have to trade 3 days, we're going to target say 750 or 800 and split that into 3. So let's say we're targeting 750, that is $250 a day. And so the way that changes our risk reward is we're still risking the full account, but our target, if it's $250, that's about an 80% win rate as opposed to a 40% win rate. So what we need to do now is we multiply that. 80% 3 times in a row is 51%. So 0.8 times 0.8 times 0.8 is 51%, 0.512. So we just call it 50%. So as I said, that's about 40% pass rate. Half of that on the actual withdrawal rate takes us to 20% payouts. So variance is what makes things feel broken. So you can lose 5 attempts in a row, you can lose 10 attempts in a row, and I actually have lost 10 attempts in a row before, but then I won the next 5, which evened it back out. But that isn't necessarily always going to happen. You have to give yourself enough room to be able to play out the variance before you essentially run out of money. That's called your risk of ruin. So you need large samples to make things work. So tilt matters. So the person you are when you're backtesting and when you're coming up with your strategy and when you're studying all those different things, you're essentially a different person to the person who you become when you are like 3 losses down and you desperately need this specific challenge to work because you're running out of money or whatever all these different things are. It's going to affect the person you are. It's going to affect the decisions you make. And what you need to do is not have one account feel too important, so that you start doing things like oversizing, moving your stop loss, and exiting trades early. So you need to track the game that you're actually playing. So that's like how much you've spent on challenges, how many you're passing, how many you're withdrawing on, and what the net outcome is on that. And as I said, you need enough room to do that. So you can't do 10 challenges and be like, oh, why didn't I win 4 of them? You need to do enough challenges to let things play out. Hopefully you're supposed to, I mean, like for me, it does tend to work out. Generally, it does tend to work out around the percentage that it's supposed to, but you do get losing streaks. So what happens if you start on a losing streak, then it's going to be difficult to know what the actual odds are unless you let it play out over time. Alright, so what I've done to help with this and to help you have a more realistic view of how things actually play out is I've built a variance tester, and it shows you in a really visible way what the variance can look like and what the losing streaks can look like and what the win streaks can look like. So we're going to look at that in a second. Alright, so this is a variance tester, and what we've done is I've got it so that it creates a grid. So a 10 by 10 grid would be like 100 different trades or 100 different accounts. It was originally made to like look at specific trades, but what we can do is we can do it on an account level. So what we would do is look at what you would win on an account and look at what you would lose on an account. So what we would do is, if we say when we lose the full account because we're risking the whole account on every trade. So that would be $92 because that's at the moment anyway, it's a reset fee on the FundedNext challenge that we're talking about. And then when you win, it's $750. It's about 80% of that. So let's see, 750 times 0.8 is 600. So we've got $600, but then I said it really comes out at more like $577. So let's be safe. And then I was talking and I spoke briefly about risk of ruin. Win rate is 20%. So now if we play this simulation, look at this. So each one of these is a trade. So we've got trade 1 here, we've got trade 100 down here. So we're going across, look at this, straight away. I mean, we got lucky on the first one, we won the first one. But then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got a losing streak of 7. So imagine if you didn't get this and then you started with a losing streak of 7. You'd have like no confidence. And so this is where people are like, oh, my strategy is not working and blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, let's see, what's the longest losing streak in here? We got stats down here. So overall, we won 29, we lost 71. And then you won 11,000 in total. This is over 100 accounts. What did this actually play out as? Risk of ruin was 23%, which is pretty high because what we did was we assumed you started with $1,000. And what this does is it tells you like an estimated minimum bankroll. I need to change this a little bit. But anyway, you've got your various losing streaks. But what I would want to do is, if we said if you started with $3,000, we run a new simulation now. If you started with $3,000, look at this, the deepest drawdown was 1,000. So what if that drawdown happened like right at the beginning? On this again, you got lucky close to the beginning, but look at some of these losing streaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 losses in a row. But overall, we still made money. So the thing is, this is why I say you're probably going to lose anyway, because do you have the personality and the confidence once you're doing something like this to not start doing stupid stuff when you're in a losing streak of 11? Look at this losing streak. Oh, that's 11 as well. And so what we've also got is we've got an equity curve. So this shows you what you, based on the 1 in 5 and what you earn. This is the dotted line is expected value, so where you will be expected to be, and then this is what actually happened in this trial, the blue line. So you kind of dance around the expected value. You can be higher, you can be lower, but you can lose money. Look at the deepest drawdown. Lowest balance on this one was, oh yeah, as I said, oh, the lowest balance was you only went down by 1. That's because you got lucky at the beginning. Let's look at an unlucky one. Let's find an unlucky one. Look at this. So this one would be unlucky. You started with a losing streak of 9, so you were down $828 right at the beginning. And so let's look at the equity curve on that one. So when you're down $828, like you've done 9 challenges in a row, you've lost all of them, and each one, remember, with this strategy, we've made it so that you blow the whole account. As soon as you lose, you blow the whole account. So each winning account would have to be 4 wins in a row, because you win the one at the challenge, and then you need to win the next 3 in a row. So it's easy to understand why you'd be like, oh yeah, well then let's just change this a bit so we don't lose straight away, and let's change that, and let's stay in this trade for longer or whatever. It's easy to understand that and to convince yourself to start straying from the strategy. But look, over time the strategy wins. So what you need to understand is a type of trader you are. So as I've got down here, can you sit through the variance? What I've got is, we've got a little quiz that you can do, which will tell you what kind of trader you are and the kinds of strengths and weaknesses that you might have psychologically, so that you can find a strategy that fits your psychology, so that you're working with your trading psychology instead of against it and trying to fight yourself, because you are a human, you are going to make mistakes, and you are going to get emotional, and you're going to behave in a certain way. So instead of trying to change the person you are, find a strategy that works for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to this quiz in the description, and I'm going to put a link to the variance grid in the description so that you can use both of them. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Like and subscribe if you found it helpful.